presentation on the screen is the preliminary findings I found from my course option, First Aid. The question I undertook was, how could ebook portfolios enhance the learning of PDHP students within an interactive classroom? I used First Aid within this ebook to examine my findings. The key points were, the particular syllabus point was the option of First Aid, and I used the Folio for Me source or application as it allows students to learn how to apply First Aid within a practical setting. The topics undertaken and examined within this portfolio were 1. Introduction to First Aid, whereby the aims of First Aid were examined, the roles and responsibilities, the legal issues and the duty of care. 2. Basic life support, which include the chain of survival, basic life support, Dr. ABC action plan, using an AED, drowning and recovery position, and 3. Managing injury, which included bites and stings, crush injury, chest injuries, heat and cold injuries. The digital learning product that I aimed to examine and use was Folio for Me, as it allows students to follow the lesson through an interactive source. The digital product presents all 3 First Aid lessons through an interactive and informative setting. It provides summaries on key topic, videos to provide further detail, charts and diagrams to reinforce important topics and messages, and lastly a self-assessment activity in the form of a Google Doc whereby students can answer revision questions before they undertake their First Aid course. The 2 sources chosen within my digital product was source 1 and 3. Source 1 was that I designed my own digital product using the book portfolio, so the Folio for Me source, and I was able to rationalize the design and discuss about possible future improvements of that. And source 3 was that I carefully selected evidence from the field, from interviews from particular teachers, written feedback from peers and students that used my digital product and were able to give me some feedback on the strengths and weaknesses of it, what worked well, what didn't, what was useful, just important messages or important feedback from them that they felt worked well. So the findings and the success of my digital product, as well as the problems were examined. So the findings from source 1 showed that using e-portfolios do enhance student learning and assessment. An online portfolio was used to teach First Aid, and therefore the portfolio is one of the most flexible forms of performance assessment, as it can be adapted to many purposes necessary. So students can access it online through different devices such as an iPad, a computer, even their phone. And teachers has a clear sense of purpose of the portfolio assessment that they communicate to the students. So the rationale of my design was that I created particular pages which you can see from the previous screencast, which goes through the use of the Folio for Me source and how I rationalized and how I used it to cover all topics, and the purpose of it. So why I chose to do this particular First Aid option, and giving specific examples from the particular syllabus points or the particular First Aid handbook, which will be given to all students on the day of their First Aid course. As you can see, there will be future improvements that could be done to improve my my ebook portfolio. Instead of just covering 3 topics, and cover all topics. It can be more interactive mediums on the page, so more inviting little snippets or videos that explain particular messages or particular topics, instead of just having a lot of paragraphs or more in-depth writing, which they might get a bit bored. So just the delivery of the messages, and particular support networks. So I could have had more external links. So I did have the Google Doc, which I could use for revision questions, but I could have had different support networks that could go to, like, St. John's First Aid homepage, where they could find particular facts on specific topics that they would like to research more on, and just more in-depth videos or external sources that could be helpful for revision for their course. So the findings from the source 3 was that the feedback and interview with the students, peers, and teachers worked quite well. They said that the digital product was useful, and this will be into further detail in my report. The report highlighted the strengths and weaknesses of the digital product. So how some felt that it was easily to access the page. The site was quite useful, and navigating through particular pages was easy to follow and quite structured. However, just 2 points. Well, 1 point from the teacher's view was that the purpose is to support reflective practice and deliver summaries on assessment and aid knowledge. So they said that it was useful, but they found that the purpose of ebooks is to reflect on practice and deliver summaries, which I did do, but maybe I could have just improved a bit more on, instead of just giving chunks of information. But that could be fixed up for future lessons or for future classes. And the student evaluation showed that they really found that the ebook and the Folio for Me digital product that I did was very useful, and that it connected between learning and individual needs, and it used other external sources such as the Google Docs, the self-assessment activity, which they could find the answers within the portfolio, but I could also use other sources which they looked up themselves, or they looked up in my handbook to answer those questions. Lastly, recommendations and the key take-home messages. So the benefit of the ebook portfolio is that it promotes and supports reflective learning. They provide meaningful learning, and that they're the preferred application according to feedback from students and teachers. They're easily accessible, so as mentioned before, many devices can be used to access Folio for Me or my digital product. And you can deliver content in interactive and useful ways, instead of just having messages or just a chunk of information on Microsoft Word. The Folio for Me it's useful. Students can navigate through particular pages. You can embed videos, embed external links, and it's a really fun way to deliver the first aid content. And lastly, just some engaging self-assessment, which I found in a literature review, was that particularly the Folio for Me and the ebook portfolios, it is based on 3 specific criteria. 1, it is it is about learner-centered learning. 2, it's self-assessment. It is an integral part of evaluation processes, which aimed at encouraging learners to take responsibility of their learning. And that's the ultimate aim of the Folio for Me, is that students can access it at their own time, but it's encouraging to take responsibility and to work on specific components that they might not know more about, or others that they could probably improve on. And 3, it is a tool for lifelong language learning. So it is something they can keep with them for a long time. They can add to in their own time, but they can add what they feel that they need to learn more on. And it's just a really interesting, interactive way to deliver messages. So that's my presentation, and just some preliminary findings that I found from my digital product. Thank you.